Hey guys, don't you know it's time for another video with me, Megabubfish, and today we are doing something very, very different. I've decided that I wanted to try my hand at doing a couple of little inspirational building videos to just kind of see where I can push what building can be for myself and others, and to try to, basically this is more a test of my skill, I guess, and I get to show you the results, and hopefully everybody gets inspired by that to maybe create something new in their world that they wouldn't have elsewise. So, today we are talking trees. Mostly trees, and a couple of things that aren't trees, but we're going to go right into it right now, and we're just here in my creative building world, and you may recognize a few of these builds from Bunch of Squares or other places. You might even remember, if we come over here, the saber-toothed tiger tutorial. It's actually here in this world. I recommend going and checking that out if you have the chance. But what we're going to do this video is we're going to come way over here, and you can probably see this in the distance. But yeah, here we go. This is what it's all about. Now, this first tree right here, it's nothing particularly special. It's taking inspiration from sort of the warped vines, and it's creating this tree that kind of has this corkscrew to it. And this is just sort of, at this point, this is typical. This isn't something that is new to me or anything, but using the fences to create the actual branches of the tree, and then simply filling that up. I believe I used dark oak and jungle to create the leaves on this tree, and I think it looks really good, especially with the soulfire lanterns here. I also made some small shrubs and whatnot, and here's a piece of decorating advice that I don't see people use a whole lot, and that is use dark oak saplings. They don't grow up on their own, and they basically look like the alive version of dead bushes, so these can be used as bushes really, really well. I love how this turned out, and I kind of feel like I should build a forest of these things at some point. Moving on, we have this giant stump that I've made, and I really love how this turned out. I was uncertain while building it if this would actually work the way I planned it, but it actually works perfectly. Like, we've got these bushes growing up and around it, these giant mushrooms, and if you haven't seen these before, I believe these are an invention of Good Times with Scar, and he made them in his shop. I believe it was Season 6, his landscaping shop. Yeah, the giant tree. So, I love these things. They look fantastic. And of course, if you come inside the stump here, the ground's all kind of dead. You got the podzol and the mushrooms growing up out of it, and you have the wood from the interior of the tree, which hasn't completely rotted away, but it is leaving just mostly the bark standing. And I could see this just being part of a decorative build, or maybe a secret entrance to something over here. There's all sorts of things that you could do with this, and I'm really pleased with how this came out. I hope you're inspired by this to just kind of push that creative building a little extra step. Now, I'll fully admit this idea was a lot cooler in my head, and I'm not really sure about the final execution. This is probably the one I'm least satisfied with. But if any of you have seen my Season 1 of Bunch of Squares episodes, you'll know that I built something called the Dead Zone. And it was a lot of dead coral and stone and gravel, and it made sort of this wild dead area. And there were like geysers and whatnot in the background. It looked really cool. But the trees never really quite sold me, and I was imagining something like this. Now, looking at it now, I'm not certain if it's better or worse. It kind of just looks like a petrified tree, and the log on the ground kind of does the same thing. But I could see this being really cool if done on a much, much larger scale. If there was a forest of these trees, I think that would look really interesting, and I'd love to see if somebody actually took this and ran with that idea. Now, this next one's a bit of an odd one because I don't think I've seen people use this as the basis for mushrooms before, which is really strange to me because looking at the netherrack, especially from a distance, if we back way up here, it looks very mushroomy. And of course, I've used the sandstone, the smooth sandstone, for the stem and the underside, which gives it this real cap-looking appearance. And of course, you've got the smaller version here, which looks like a giant version of the crimson fungi, which is fantastic. Down here on the ground, I've just used some of the warped, what is it, warped netherrack? I don't even remember the names of these things right now, but yeah, we've got sort of just random single block mushrooms, which I guess you could do the same thing that I did with the stump down there to just kind of tie it all together, but it kind of creates this interesting biome dynamic. And I think this is another one that I'd really love to see somebody kind of go above and beyond on and do something really crazy with. Now here we are with idea number 5, and there's nothing particularly exciting about this one except for the fact that it's upside down. And I think, once again, this is one where if you stand back from it, it looks way, way cool. As you can see here, I've basically just used some terracotta and some concrete to create the appearance of like this chunk of earth floating up. And now obviously you could use just dirt or whatever, but I wanted to create sort of a more artificial feel to this tree overall, and that's kind of why it's got the panes of glass to just draw your eye a little bit more and to make you think it's not real. It's just really strange. And then of course we've got the mushroom blocks, the brown mushroom blocks, and those are the stem. Really interesting. I'd never thought about this before, but the jungle wood blends really well with the brown mushroom, and I don't know what to do with that information, but if anybody comes up with some really cool building tips and tricks, be sure to let me know, and I retain all rights to that. So that's my idea. You can't be using that without my permission. No, go ahead. That's the point of this. This whole video's point is to create some inspiration for you, and I hope that has kind of served its purpose. I am really pleased with the way these turned out. I just took a couple of quick hours and hammered on these ideas until I thought that they were good enough to show generally, and I think they really, really are. Like I said, this one's probably my least favorite. Number 4, I'd say the Upside Down Island. It's kind of cool, but I don't know if it's doing anything new. Number 3, probably this one at the beginning, because as cool as it looks, I know other people have done this a lot. The mushroom's probably my number 2, because I really like how the sandstone turned out as the stem. And of course, number 1 would be the stump, because I just love how the stump turned out. I think this has some real potential to, I don't know, build a giant forest and have a bunch of these stumps around and make your base out of some of these. So, anyhow guys, let me know down in the comments section what you think of this first episode of Building with Bub. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Be sure to leave a comment, be sure to like the video, and be sure to tell me what you'd like to see next time if you have any tips or tricks. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!